Hello everyone, and welcome to Earth Archives. Today, we will be talking about a truly great musician, Ludwig van Beethoven. He is regarded as one of the most influential composers of the German classical period, and his impact on the music world is still profound today. However, beyond his iconic symphonies and sonatas, Beethoven's life itself is a deeply moving story. It is not just a tale of talent and achievement, but also a story of how a person, despite facing numerous challenges from fate, could persist and create masterpieces that would astound the world. Beethoven's journey is filled with both tragedy and brilliance. Let us start from his childhood and step into this life full of struggles and miracles. The childhood of suffering. Ludwig van Beethoven was born on December 16, 1770, in a shabby attic in Bonn, Germany. His family was far from wealthy. His father, a struggling tenor singer with a drinking problem, and his mother, a gentle and ordinary woman from a servant's background, provided a modest and challenging environment for him. Despite their poverty, Beethoven's father had high hopes for his son, believing he was a musical prodigy, and forced him to undergo intense musical training from a very young age. However, this was not a warm family environment. Beethoven's father often locked him in a room for hours, forcing him to practice the piano or violin without rest. This relentless pressure and pain weighed heavily on young Beethoven, and his childhood was deprived of much joy. The harsh conditions left deep emotional scars that would never be erased from his heart. Despite these hardships, Beethoven's musical talent began to shine through in such a harsh environment. By the age of 13, he became an organist, earning some income for himself. At 17, tragedy struck when Beethoven's mother passed away from tuberculosis. This loss plunged him into deep sorrow and fear, especially as he feared inheriting his mother's illness. This anxiety and grief profoundly affected his emotional state. In the same year, Beethoven's father, having lost control due to alcoholism, became unable to care for the family. Beethoven was forced to shoulder the responsibility of supporting the household, becoming the family's pillar. To make ends meet, he had to take early retirement from the theater where his father had worked and managed the pension. All these struggles and responsibilities matured Beethoven at an early age, making him stronger and more resilient, laying the groundwork for facing even greater challenges in the future. Yet, even in these difficult circumstances, Beethoven encountered some warmth from others. The Bern family became important friends in his youth. They had a daughter named Eleanor, and Beethoven studied music and poetry alongside her. This pure and innocent friendship became a bright spot in Beethoven's life, offering him a glimpse of the beauty and kindness that he longed for in the midst of his trials. Away from home, toward the sacred land of music. In 1792, the outbreak of the French Revolution brought dramatic changes to Europe and plunged Beethoven's hometown of Bonn into a period of turmoil. At that time, the young Beethoven was in the early stages of his academic journey, having just enrolled at Bonn University. He had originally planned to complete his studies and return home to continue working as a court musician. However, the shadow of war not only disrupted his plans, but also forced him to make a significant decision: to leave his hometown and head toward Vienna, the sacred land of music. It was an entirely new world, full of both opportunities and challenges for the young Beethoven. Upon arriving in Vienna, Beethoven did not immediately become the household name he is known as today. His initial intention was to stay briefly and learn composition from the great music master Haydn to hone his skills. At that time, he did not foresee that this city, brimming with musical energy, would become the foundation of his later creative career. He could not have predicted that this land would witness the creation of countless immortal works. However, fate led Beethoven to sever almost all ties with his hometown, and Vienna became the place where he would spend most of the next 35 years of his life, both composing and living. Even though he was in Vienna, Beethoven never forgot his hometown of Bonn. His music was filled with longing and affection for his homeland, a feeling that acted as a deep, hidden force, fueling his countless creative inspirations. especially when he recalled the beautiful scenes of the Rhine Valley, that once beloved home, It was not just a series of images in his memory, but also a source of musical inspiration. The melodies he wrote often evoked the tranquility and beauty of meadows, villages, and castles, as if every note was telling the story of his deep, unwavering love for his homeland. Pain and struggle. For a musician, facing external challenges is undoubtedly difficult, but the greatest struggle Beethoven experienced came from the torment of his own body. From 1796 to 1797, the great composer began to notice the gradual decline of his hearing. For a genius who relied on his sense of hearing to create music, losing his hearing was undoubtedly a devastating blow. Initially, Beethoven chose to silently endure this hardship, not revealing his predicament to anyone. He did not want others to see his vulnerable side, and he remained dedicated to composing music. However, the pain did not fade. On the contrary, it grew deeper with each passing day of torment. It was not until 1801 that Beethoven finally confided in two close friends about his condition in a letter. He admitted to facing hearing loss and expressed the inner frustration and panic he was feeling. At this point, Beethoven had realized that this ailment would not only affect his life, but could also potentially destroy the music he had created up until then. Despite the physical and emotional devastation, Beethoven did not choose to give up. Instead, he transformed this pain into creative energy and became even more determined to compose music. He knew that, no matter what, he had to leave a mark with his music. This difficult period also marked a turning point in Beethoven's musical style. Even as his hearing continued to fade, he still composed many heart-stirring works. The Pathetic Sonata became one of his representative works from this time, filled with his inner pain, struggle, and helplessness. Each note seemed to carry his emotional fluctuations, allowing listeners to feel his helplessness and strength as he faced life's immense changes. Similarly, the 10th Sonata expressed his inner struggles, with its profound emotion and complex feelings, showcasing Beethoven's unwavering spirit to continue composing amidst suffering. However, Beethoven's music was not entirely sorrowful. His septet was a lively piece that demonstrated his positive attitude in the face of adversity. Despite being in difficult circumstances, Beethoven never forgot his love for music, finding peace and strength in every note. His compositions seemed to tell the world that even when facing tremendous difficulties, one could still use music as a weapon to overcome the darkness and sorrow of life. Love and loneliness. Beethoven's love life was filled with twists and tragedies, much like his musical career, marked by countless ups and downs and unfulfilled dreams. Although he deeply loved several women throughout his life, these relationships never blossomed and became a source of pain and regret deep within his heart. The most famous of these was his affair with Julieta, a relationship that not only influenced Beethoven's mood, but also deeply reflected his longing for love and the helplessness he felt in the face of reality. This love began in 1801 when Beethoven fell deeply in love with Julieta and composed the famous Moonlight Sonata for her. This piece remains one of Beethoven's most iconic works, and its creation became his most beautiful expression of love. Beethoven wrote to a friend, telling them that Julieta's presence had made his life richer and more interesting. The romance developed quickly, and their mutual affection was unmistakable. However, fate did not smile on this love, as Julieta eventually married someone else, bringing the relationship to an end. Beethoven's heart was filled with pain, and this heartbreak was a significant blow to him, not only emotionally but also physically, as it made him more acutely aware of his own disability, especially his gradual hearing loss, which left him feeling even more isolated and helpless. After the end of his relationship with Julieta, Beethoven's path to love did not become any smoother. Although he was once engaged to another woman named Therese, this engagement was soon called off. This once again proved that Beethoven's love life was destined to be filled with pain and loneliness. His emotional world always seemed so distant, as if every time he neared the edge of love, he could never truly possess it. His heart may have been filled with endless love and passion, but in the end, he was unable to reach true happiness. The pinnacle of music. Despite facing numerous hardships, Beethoven still composed countless immortal works, which continue to deeply move audiences around the world today. Throughout his life, whether it was physical torment, the gradual loss of his hearing, or the failure of his love affairs, nothing could make him abandon his passion for music and his pursuit of composition. Particularly in 1812, he composed his legendary work, the Ninth Symphony. This symphony became one of the greatest works in the history of human music and established an indelible position in the musical world for generations to come. The Ninth Symphony not only reached an extraordinarily high artistic level in terms of musical form, but the ode to joy it contains became a timeless classic. The lyrics convey a shared human longing for peace, freedom, and brotherhood. These emotions transcend time and space, touching the hearts of countless listeners. Whether performed in grand concerts or during important historical moments, the ode to joy has become a symbol of unity and strength. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony has never been just a simple symphony. It is a celebration of life, ideals, and humanity, a hymn to the human spirit. However, despite the global recognition of Beethoven's musical genius and the peak of his fame in Vienna, his personal life never brought him happiness. Economic struggles continued to plague him. Although his musical success gradually earned him fame, he was unable to escape the difficulties of poverty. Beethoven's living conditions were often very harsh. Even though he had some supporters, he always lived in solitude, maintaining a certain distance from friends and society. Beethoven's final years. Beethoven's later years were the most difficult period of his life. With the complete loss of his hearing, he was no longer able to personally listen to the music he composed, which was an incredibly heavy blow for a composer. Beethoven, who had once lived for music, suddenly lost his most direct connection to it. His heart was undoubtedly filled with pain and despair, but he did not succumb to fate. Instead, during these incredibly difficult times, Beethoven continued to compose, and with astonishing determination and a deep understanding of music, he created many soul-stirring works. His health deteriorated steadily in his later years, and he spent most of his days suffering from various illnesses. However, his passion and pursuit of music never waned. Beethoven's compositions entered a whole new realm, moving beyond the styles and forms of the past, creating works of greater depth and innovation. Even in complete deafness, he could still hear music in his mind and transform these sounds into immortal melodies. Ultimately, fate took away this great musician. On March 26, 1827, Beethoven passed away at the age of 56. Despite the hardships he faced in his final years, living in sickness and solitude, the music he created had already forever changed the world. Beethoven's music transcended the limitations of time, becoming a symbol of the human spirit. Whether during his lifetime or after his death, his works continue to shine brightly in the hearts of people around the world. Thank you for watching today's program. If you have any questions about Beethoven, feel free to leave them in the comments section for discussion. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, as we will continue bringing you more interesting stories in the future.